Hello everyone, and this is our lesson 1-2. We're talking about the types of business models in this lesson. So let's get started. So we're going to talk about the differences between a business model and a business plan, first off. So what is a business plan? Well, a business plan is a roadmap of your business's overall objectives and the strategy and details about how those objectives will be achieved. It is often described by using something that's called a pitch deck. When you're developing your business, when you're presenting your business to somebody, you're going to develop a pitch deck. Okay? Your business plan is part of that, is what is used to describe your business plan. Now, on the other hand, a business model is how your company sells its products or services to its customers and its plan for making a profit. Now, the business model is one element of your pitch deck. So this is one slide that's in your pitch deck. Now, really, when it comes down to it, there are many types of models. So some blend together and some are a combination of more than one type of business model. And often some companies change their business models over time because they're trying to adapt to technology or changing consumer preferences. For example, bricks and mortar, which is typically, a regular storefront that you'd see in a mall or wherever. But if they add an online component, like an online store, this then becomes bricks and clicks, what is known as bricks and clicks. Okay, so bricks and mortar plus your online equals your bricks and clicks. All right, so let's talk about different types of business models. We're going to start off with a manufacturer. Now, a manufacturer is somebody who makes stuff, right? So they make finished products from raw materials. Now, an example is U.S. Steel. They take steel products, they form the steel products that car manufacturers would then would purchase to use when they are building their car. Car companies then make the cars out of steel, out of aluminum, plastic, glass, and other materials. Once they make their car, for example, Ford and Tesla, Ford might sell they then have their put all these materials together to create the car, like Ford or Tesla. So Ford might sell their cars to a car dealership, but Tesla, on the other hand, may sell directly to consumers. Now, selling directly to consumers is another type of business model, something called direct to consumer model. This is when you are selling your product directly to your customers, the end user, without a third-party retailer, a wholesaler, or other middlemen. So for example, Ford and Tesla are both manufacturers, but they go about selling their cars differently. Ford uses middlemen like car dealers, but Tesla sells directly to consumers and end users. Now, Tesla now has gotten stores as well, so they have that car dealership in themselves. Car dealerships from like Ford are different. They're usually owned by another company that Ford then sells to. Next is a distributor. Now, a distributor buys products and manufacturers and then resells them to either wholesalers, retailers, or the public itself. Grainger is an example of a distributor. Now, on the other hand, a wholesaler buys large quantities of products from manufacturers or distributors and then warehouses or stores them and then sells them to retailers. Oh, speaking of retailers, what is a retailer? Where a retailer buys products from a distributor or a wholesaler or a manufacturer and then sells directly to the consuming public. We initially think of bricks and mortars retailers like Walmart or Kroger or HE. Well, HEB is a little different, but they're still a retailer, but they're a bricks and mortar. They have actual locations. Your local bank, your grocery store, your hardware store, any store with an actual storefront is a retailer. Now, there are also online retailers. So online retailers have an online shopping experience. Sometimes, like Warby Parker, who deals in eyewear, they also have a bricks and mortar location. So they are called bricks and clicks, again, like we talked about previously. Oh, now speaking of bricks and clicks, These are companies that provide a way for customers to buy products from their brick and mortar locations, but also from online. You can order products online and then you can pick them up from the actual bricks and mortar stores. Walmart is a good example because they've got their physical stores, but they also have a great online presence that even rivals Amazon nowadays. But other ones could include Target, Zappos, which is actually owned by Amazon, and Kohl's. So all of this online stuff leads to something called e-commerce. Now, e-commerce is an electronic medium like a website or a store to facilitate the buying and selling of products and services to businesses and consumers. And it can be broken down into three subcategories. First is business to business or B2B. Alibaba in China is an example of this. Next is business to consumer or B2C, and Amazon is a good one. They're a business that sells directly to consumers. Finally, there is the third one is consumer to consumer or C2C. Etsy, eBay, those type of businesses who sell consumer to consumer. That's what those are examples of e-commerce C2C. Moving on, we got a franchise model. Now, this allows a person or a small business called a franchisee to start a business legally by using the franchisor's brand, expertise, practices, and established businesses and operational systems and processes. McDonald's, Subway, Domino's, those are all franchisees, franchisors who then work with a franchisee to have their business move forward. There's a business model called nickel and dime. Now, these business models provide low price points for the cost-sensitive consumer, but they're also called low-cost providers. Dollar Tree is a good example of a nickel and dime business model. Another business model is the subscription. They usually charge a regularly scheduled fee, either monthly or annually, for their products and services. Think Netflix, think Disney, think Spotify, think Adobe. These are all subscription services. Now, oftentimes these subscription services, they start out as something different. They start out with a freemium business model. This is a classic internet model and is used by all sorts of companies to attract new customers. The company will offer some kind of basic service for free, and then they will charge money for certain additional features. You want more features, you want bigger, you want more storage, they'll charge extra for that. But they originally started out with this freemium model here. Then it goes into, as we were thinking in the other one, going back to the subscription model. Okay, now an aggregator is another type of business model. They collect or they aggregate, bring together information on goods or services from competing sources, and then they collect a fee or a commission per transaction for selling those aggregated products through its own platform. Uber and Airbnb are good examples of aggregators. Now, we've talked about online. There is an online marketplace. They collect a fee or a commission per transaction for enabling suppliers to compete against each other for customers on one platform. Amazon has an online marketplace where people will sell their goods or their products, and they compete for almost essentially the same product. Alibaba is another one that does the same thing. Now, advertisement model is another model, and this model is used by companies that provide their services for free, but they sell advertisement space to fund their businesses. Now, some examples include YouTube, Google, Facebook, Instagram. All of their services are free, but they sell that advertisement space in order to make money. And typically what happens then too is they will then have data licensing or data selling. This is another type of business model. Because of the explosion of the internet, data is everywhere. And these type of companies sell or license the data they collect as a form of revenue. Now, X, which is formerly known as Twitter, they make their money from selling advertising, but they also make money from selling their data that they get from customers, from consumers. An agency is another type of business model. This is a model that handles certain business activities for other companies for a fee. They could include advertising and digital marketing, along with various other services. So Ogilvy and Mather is an example of an agency that does businesses for other companies. And there is something called a multi-level marketing. This is where individuals make commissions by selling goods and services directly, and then they make commissions from the sales made by their network of recruited distributors. This also goes into this next model. Next model is direct sales. This is where you're selling products directly to consumers in a non-retail environment. Think about the people who have been selling items from books, like from books and vacuum cleaners. They go door to door. Pampered Chef is an example, so is Mary Kay. So those direct sales oftentimes relate back to that multi-level marketing model as well. Affiliate marketing is another type of business model. This is an e-commerce relationship where an online merchant agrees to pay an affiliate, such as a promoter, in exchange for providing an advertisement or a link to a merchant's sites. Now, some examples include pay-per-click, PPC, pay-per-lead, PPL, or pay-per-sale, which is PPS. Now, take note that sometimes these affiliates or these promoters, those are your influencers. Think TikTok, think Facebook, think Instagram. Those influencers become affiliates for a company and then promote their products online. Now, here's some additional models. We could go through all these, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of these. So you've got auctions. eBay is a form of auction. There's crowdsourcing like Wikipedia, where a bunch of people are bringing all the information together. Crowdfunding is like Kickstarter or GoFundMe. And then you've got what's called a SaaS model, or like Salesforce or Adobe Creative Services. SaaS, in this case, stands for software as a service. They're selling software as a service to another company. There's drop shipping, there's peer-to-peer like Craigslist, and one of the most recent ones is blockchain. This is an unchangeable, decentralized central or digital ledger of some kind, digital accounting. Now, I want to touch on an example on a business model slide example, because when you are making a pitch deck, this is an important slide because investors, if you're making a pitch, investors want to know how your company makes money. So this is Airbnb's slide in their pitch deck. They take a 10% commission on each transaction. So then it shows how many millions of dollars they've made, what's the average fee per night, and then equals the total revenue that is projected based on the model that they're using. Well, that's about it. That is essentially our lesson 1-2 on the different types of business models.